You ever feel like your mind is just a storm, constantly pulling you back into things that already happened or making you worry about what's coming next? It's completely exhausting, isn't it? Well, today we're going to dive into a really simple story that holds a surprisingly powerful key to calming that whole inner tempest down.
And that line right there, it just perfectly nails the inner world of the guy in our story. It's a feeling I think a lot of us know all too well, right? That feeling of being caught in a mental whirlwind with, no clear way out.
So our story kicks off with what we're calling the restless mind. Let's talk about this trap of being stuck somewhere between yesterday and tomorrow.
Okay, so we meet this young man, Marco, and he is just completely worn out. And why? Because his mind, it just will not shut off. It's this constant buzz of thoughts that leaves him feeling on edge and totally drained of all his energy.
And this really shows you the mental prison he was in. On one side, you've got him chained to all this sadness about his past. And then on the other, he's just paralyzed with worry about what the future holds. He's living literally everywhere except for right here, right now.
And this inner storm, it had real, actual consequences. I mean, it stole his sense of calm. It totally messed up his sleep. And maybe the saddest part of all, it made him forget how to do something as simple as just smile.
Feeling completely lost, Marco finally decides, okay, I have to do something. And that's where the next part of his story begins, his journey for peace.
And then, a little glimmer of hope. Marco hears about this wise old man, a former psychologist who basically left the busy city behind for a quiet life in the hills. And people said he had this amazing gift for helping people find the very thing Marco was so desperate for, peace.
And that one thought, that becomes his everything. It's this tiny bit of hope that gives him the fuel to start a pretty long journey. He basically packs up all his restlessness and heads for the hills, looking for a cure for that stormy mind of his.
So Marco finally gets there, and he's probably expecting some complex philosophical lecture, right? But instead, the wise man gives him a really simple, but as it turns out, incredibly profound challenge. And it all involves a glass of water. So the wise man takes a glass and he fills it with water right up to the very, very brim. I mean, so full that the slightest little shake would make it spill. Then he hands it to Marco and just says, "Walk to the edge of the village and come back." And here's the one and only rule. You cannot spill a single drop. So this wasn't just a walk anymore. It was a test of complete and total focus.
And you gotta picture this. The path was anything but quiet. It was a busy village road, you had people rushing past, shopkeepers yelling out to customers, dogs barking, basically a whole symphony of distractions all trying to break his concentration.
So Marco completes the task. And in the process, he actually, without even realizing it, stumbles upon the secret to real stillness. Marco gets back. His focus was absolute. The glass is still perfectly full. And he's proud, He took on the challenge and he totally nailed it. But the real test was just about to begin.
See, the wise man doesn't congratulate him. Nope. Instead, he starts asking about all those distractions Marco just walked past. The kids playing, the dogs barking.
And Marco's answer, this is it. This is the key that unlocks the entire lesson. He says, no, I didn't see or hear a thing. I was only focusing on the glass. He was so completely absorbed in what he was doing that the rest of the world just faded away. And the old man just smiles and tells him, that right there, that is the secret. The peace that Marco traveled all this way to find wasn't in some faraway village. It was a power he had inside of him the whole time. And here it is, the secret in its purest form. When your mind is completely occupied with the now, the way Marco's was with that glass of water, there's literally no room left for regrets about the past or fears about the future. The inner storm just dies down because there's nothing left to fuel it.
It's a really powerful story, but how do we actually make it work for us? And that brings us to our final section, applying this whole lesson to find your own present moment.
Let's just sit with that for a second. That's the ultimate takeaway here. We spend so much time thinking peace is a destination, something we have to find. This story teaches us that it's actually our natural state, just waiting for us underneath all the noise in our heads.
So how do you find this state? Well, you create your own glass of water. First, just identify a single point of focus. It can be anything, washing the dishes, really listening to a song, or just feeling your own breath. Second, commit your full attention to it. Third, just observe. You'll start to notice those thoughts about the past and future just fade away. And fourth, recognize the quiet that's left behind. That is your inner peace.
And so that leaves us with one final, pretty powerful question. As you finish listening to this and go about your day, just ask yourself, where is my focus right now? Is it on my glass of water, or am I lost in the storm? The answer? Well, it just might change everything.